Hello, everyone. This is Justice and Wealth, and I'm here with part three of this financial abstinence video series. If you haven't started watching the first one, go ahead. The link will be in the description, and you could also find it on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the content so far. I'm doing this for you guys who are in the different plays such as AMC and Ape and GameStop. And I hope all this is good information for you guys. And I'm just here to help you guys out as much as possible for the post MOAS world. So, before we get started into the final 2 points, which is going to be self sabotage and solutions, before we get into those points, I just want to real quick mention that I am currently banned on Twitter, of course, despite Elon Musk taking it over. But hey, I guess changes take time, especially on a massive platform such as Twitter. So we'll see. We'll see how soon I can get back in. They said it was going to be about a week, but maybe this video will be uploaded by the time my ban has been lifted. We'll see. We'll see. So, yourself is going to be one of the biggest obstacles to your wealth preservation and your wealth spending habits. When you are financially free and you have all the wealth in the world, you are going to, for one, feel a lot more inclined to stay on your ass and do nothing. Especially if you came from a background of working 9 to 5, when you came from a background of after your work shift of 8, 10, 12 hour shifts, you always come back home and you always just want to rest up, watch some YouTube or watch some TV or something, and then you just pass out on the couch. If that's you right now, then this is going to be a very difficult thing for you to overcome if you're not prepared. One of the first ways that we sabotage ourselves is through our own depression and laziness. Like, why bother? I'm rich. I don't need to work on anything. Hurt. So this is going to be a very, very rough life as a rich person if this is going to be your mindset. This is going to be one of your mindsets that you're going to have to work on before the MOAS. Actually, all of these you got to work on right now because the mother of all short squeezes is coming and it's coming soon. Oh, sorry about that. That is my phone. If you recognize that little audio, leave a comment down below. So the other part is your loneliness. Feelings of loneliness is how you can also get sabotaged from. A lot of ways that rich people that are inclined to fall into corruption, like the hedge fund managers, the bankers, the politicians, a lot of them overcome loneliness through their money. Kind of like how I explained through prostitution, for example. But this can be expanded upon in a lot of different ways. You may feel inclined, if you have feelings of loneliness, to use your money to bring people to you. And that can be a very insincere and a very destructive way to acquire relationships. Not just with women, but for you guys, or lesbians out there. But also with relationships with your family, with friends, with acquaintances. Yeah, it's a very rough one. It's a very tricky one to overcome before the MOAS. Believe me, I'm working on this myself. But there's going to be a lot of ways that people will manipulate you, as I mentioned in the previous videos, and they'll manipulate your feelings of loneliness to spend money on them. Feelings of anger and feelings of wrath and having this warped sense of justice that we all might feel We all want to see the bankers go bankrupt. We want to see the hedge fund managers go under. We want to see all the market makers collapse and the family offices and everyone who's been involved in stealing generations of wealth for the past 2, 3, 10 decades. We want to see them all go under. And I know it's very hard to withstand these trials of just waiting and waiting for something to happen. But when the mother of all short squeezes does happen, as I stated before, we're going to have so much wealth that we'll be able to move nations. This is a very concerning situation that we'll all be in, because we'll have a very intense need to want to use our wealth to attack people. It's kind of like Batman. Except this is real life. This is not some superhero fantasy, as much as many of you may want to be someone like Batman or Tony Stark. The issue is the world's complex, and there has to be law and order. And when we skirt law and order to pursue our own sense of justice, it may create a lot more harm and may create a lot more difficulty of seeking true justice. It is true that our justice system is shit right now, for the most part. We've had some really good calls with the Johnny Depp case, as well as Kyle Rittenhouse getting all scot-free, even though those trials should have never happened to begin with. But there is a lot of problems with the justice system, like the January 6th protesters that are still locked you're still locked in without having a proper trial. And you also have all these warped courts, justices, attorney generals going after people for political purposes. It's very tempting to want to use our wrath and our wealth to attack these people. But there's going to be like one or two things. One, you're going to attack the wrong person and get an innocent person harmed. Or two, you're going to let a guilty man go free because you don't know what you're doing with his wealth. And that can also lead you into a lot of trouble as well. So, lust. Kind of like mixing in with what I said about loneliness and depression, as well as how women will treat you differently, gentlemen. So, you also have your greed, your ego, your pride, and your envy. These can all come to haunt you too when you are not mentally aware of your spending habits. When you feed into your own greed, ego, pride, and envy, as I stated before, it's going to harm you in the same ways that are currently kicking the asses of the hedge fund managers who are shorting our favorite stocks. It's not a bad thing to collect some things that you're passionate about. It's not always a bad thing to want to splurge here and there. The issue is when we let it control us, and we allow our sense of greed, ego, pride, and envy to warp who we are as a person. And all of these can lead to a lot of poor habits, and these habits will be a lot more difficult to break because of how we will achieve a false sense of security just because we're financially free. And this may also lead to a yes man mentality, to where we'll always want to say yes to our friends and family because we want to see them, do well. So, with all that said and done, what are the solutions to how everything is out to get against us? What are the solutions that we need to adhere to so that we can actually flourish in a healthy environment after we achieve financial freedom, after the great transfer of wealth back into the hands of we the people? Now, these are just some general tips and ideas that I came up with. All of these, you could just pick and choose what resonates with you, and if there's something else that I didn't mention here, just like everything else I haven't mentioned in any of these previous videos, feel free to leave a comment down below and, let me know your thoughts. Maybe if it's significant enough, I'll create another video for it. One of the number one things you gotta keep in mind is that you have the power. You can say yes and no to anything, right? The ball is in your court. You can decide who your friends are, who your acquaintances are. You can decide where your money goes. You can decide how much of that money you want to spend. Don't forget to be humble. Don't brag about your wealth. Don't show off. Don't rub it in people's faces because that may harm the way people see you. Don't forget to be generous. But at the same time, do not be a pushover. A lot of spiritual people and philosophers say, give generously and the world will give back generously. So, you don't want to act like a dragon and sit up on a giant pile of gold that's not going to do anything for anyone. Right? Establish some ground rules for yourself, for your friends and family, and for anyone who's close to you. Establish ground rules. You don't have to go over those ground rules with all of them. It's more for your personal well-being. But if you are deeply involved with your finances with other people, then yeah, you want to go over those rules with them and have a strict line in the sand that they cannot cross. Right? If you let someone cross a line, then they're going to cross the next one and the next one until it's going to disrupt you in a lot of negative ways. So you got to assert your rules, and you got to assert them respectfully, but also assertively. Be methodical with your purchases. Like, ensure every purchase has a purpose, right? Even if it's like something as little as recreation, or something as little as as collecting. You just want to make sure that you have a mental note and a mental conscious awareness of every purchase that you make. Do not cave to peer pressure, right? That should be a given. I mean, all of what we went above is about peer pressure, more or less. Have a conscious awareness of when you're being manipulated. This is going to be very difficult to know in the moment because you have like a lot of things going on in your mind, or your mind may be blank, depending on who you are as a person. But in the moment of when you're conversing with other people, it'll be easier through texting because you have time to think and deliberate. But when you're actually talking face to face with other people, it may be more, how should I say, difficult. It'll be a little bit more difficult in person, especially if you have not done any emotional intelligence training or any sort of charisma training exercises. So, after that, connect with your spiritual side. I recently converted to Christianity myself, and the way I've seen it, and the way I will see it when this all comes and passes, is that this is not my wealth. This is God's wealth. And God is lending it to me to do good in his sight. That's the way I'm seeing it. However you want to see it, when you connect with your spiritual side, it's going to help you become more wise in your financial decisions. You gotta let God into your finances, or whatever beneficial spirit that you believe in and that you trust in. Track and organize your spending. I mean, it's always a good idea to keep tally on your finances and keep a close eye on your finances, right? I mean, when we become financially free, it may be tempting to just let it go and just let wherever the dollars land, it'll land there. But if you're not keeping a good eye on your finances, then you might accidentally spend it all. That's how a lot of people go broke after they win the lottery. Learn body language, kind of like I touched upon a little bit ago. If you learn body language and emotional intelligence, you'll be better capable of understanding people's intentions with you, especially if you are talking to them in person. Make sure you have a bucket list ready and be sure to be ready to fulfill your goals. I already went over this on the previous video, but a bucket list and having goals in mind will definitely help you achieve a sense of accomplishment that you may have never been able to achieve before the MOAS. Hiding your wealth can be a good way to prevent other people from acknowledging where your wealth is and how wealthy you are. Of course, you can only really do this to people that you don't have a strong connection with and who are not closely financially tied to you. As I stated before, with your spouse and your kids, you got to be honest and open with them. For anyone that's more distant to you, there's no reason for you to expose your wealth to them, right? Unless you have a good reason. Another tip, I got some specific tips for specific scenarios and situations in a second. But this tip, surround yourself with other like-minded people. So, I've been watching some Andrew Tate lately, and what he said was the 5 closest people that you hang out with regularly will help determine who you are as a person. So if you surround yourself with people who are success-oriented, who are go-getters, and who will push you to do the things that you need to do in life, then you're going to be a lot more successful than when you are, by yourself or just by people who don't have that mindset. So, specific dating tips. Gentlemen, so this is more for gentlemen specifically, but women, if this applies to you specifically on your personality, then, feel free to take it as it goes. So, spend what you normally would, but as the pre-MOAS, right? Don't go out and be lavish and luxurious on the first date, right? You don't want to use your wealth to, quote-unquote, impress a woman, because she might just see you as someone who's only wealthy and not see you for the value of who you are as a person. See if your date will also pay for anything, See if they'll offer anything in return, even if it's not just specifically regarding money, but see what your partner or potential partner will contribute and see what kind of value that person has, right? You're going to have so much power over who you spend your life with, especially when you are financially free. So don't feel like you will be required to sell for anyone. With spouse and kids, I've been saying a whole lot. Just be honest. Set some ground rules. And if you haven't been married yet, then get a prenup. Because a lot of the time, us guys will get wealthy and then the woman will leave us and take half of our wealth. That's an unfortunate reality that can happen to a lot of us. So make sure you have a prenup signed, and make sure that your wealth is legally secure. With institutions, professions, charities, etc., always do your due diligence. Do your research before spending a single penny. Research the goals, the leaders, news, lawsuits, etc. Anything that you can get your hands on in terms of material about what these institutions represent. Make sure that you do everything you can to get as educated as possible. You don't want to commit to any hasty decisions either. Don't feel like that time is of the essence with any of these companies. Even if it sounds like they have any just cause, do not feel pressured into giving away money to these people. So never commit to any hasty financial decisions. And do your due diligence with your own emails, of course. Verify your emails before clicking on any links. Verify the sender is from the correct email address. When you look at an email, right, you could actually hover your mouse over a link before you even click the URL, and you could actually see where that URL is actually going, depending on the browser. Also, never give out any private information to anyone. Yeah, unless it's someone that you deeply trust, like a lawyer that you hired or something. But especially with passwords, though, never get out a password. Never get out a password. And here's your +1, and I think this is the most important one of all. I made a short video on this. Do not be afraid to cut ties. There are going to be a lot of people in your life. There's going to be a lot of people that will show up in your life. There's going to be a lot of friends and family that will come to you for seeking financial aid. There's going to be a lot of people that may feel entitled to your wealth. And a lot of these people are going to show their true colors to you. Do not be afraid to cut ties, even if you've known them for over 10 years. I know it's going to be very hard to do as opposed to just me saying it. But if you are serious about this mother of all short squeeze, and if you're sincere in financial freedom, you need to know how to cut ties with people. You need to know how to let people go, no matter how much of a significant part they have had on your life. If you do not cut ties with some of these people that are absolutely toxic in this relationship with you, it's going to afflict every part of your life. Not just your finances, but your mental health, your other relationships, including the relationship you have with your spouse and your kids. This is also going to afflict your business relationships. This is going to afflict your life goal planning. Anytime you have a toxic person in your life when you are wealthy and you allow them to stay in your life, increases the risk of you losing everything. So do not be afraid to cut ties. And do not feel guilty at all. You do not owe anyone a thing. Alright. That's all I got for you today. As I said before, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. You know the drill. Thanks, guys.